On today's show,
we discuss the Rockets going ice cold from three and if Chris Paul would have been the difference maker.
we debate if Cavs Warriors is good for the league and whether LeBron or Durant is under more pressure.
And we'll count down the top 10 funniest moments from the past three NBA Finals.
It's Tuesday, May 29th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to The Starters, presented by Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. Whether you're joining us live right now on NBA TV, watching later on YouTube, maybe listening to the podcast, doesn't matter. We're happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
Happy off day.
And last but not least, over yonder, that is the bearded one. Wearing a hat tonight, that's Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey, yo! TK, what's up?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at hashtag the starters, and it might not have happened how we expected it, but just as the prophecy foretold, we're looking at our fourth straight Warriors versus Cavs NBA Finals. You know the story, 2015, Warriors pull off the title. 2016, LeBron pulls off an improbable comeback and wins the 2016 title. Then Kevin Durant joins the Warriors. They win the 2017 title, and here we are. We've seen it pretty much all already at this point, but it brings us to today's question. What's something you'd like to see happen again at the NBA Finals? For instance, maybe all you want is an iconic moment, like LeBron's block from 2016, a defining moment of his career. Maybe you want something silly, like Steph Curry pretending to take a poop on the court during last year's Finals.
Here he goes.
He eventually came out and said, this was not a poop, but I don't know. Or
looks like
maybe,
a
just
poop.
maybe, you want Lee Ellis to find this guy out in Oakland.
Stephen Curry in, Stephen Curry in, Stephen Curry and the Warriors. Stephen Curry in, Stephen Curry in, Stephen Curry, he's driving me crazy.
Shout out to Justice, the party starter. But we want to hear from you, so hit us up on Twitter and let us know something you'd like to see happen again at the NBA Finals. Send us your best tweets to hashtag the starters. We'll hear from you later.
All right, get those tweets in. We will debate whether Warriors-Cavs Part 4 is good for the league. We'll also count down the top 10 funniest moments from the past three NBA Finals. And Trey will take over very solid play duties for Lily, who is off to Oakland for Games 1 and 2. But let's start with a little true or false. Game 7, Western Conference Finals edition. Get over here, TK. And we'll start with this. No Chris Paul, no problem. Wait, yeah, definitely a problem. Without Chris Paul, who was out due to hamstring injury, the Rockets missed 27 straight three-pointers over a 24-minute span. They fell to the Warriors 101-92 in Game 7 of those West Finals. It truly is the ultimate what if, so let's ask it, true or false, the Rockets would have won this series if Chris Paul plays.
I think so. Looking back at those two games after they were up 3-2, they really believed they could win. And they showed it coming into both those games. They played the first half like they were the best team. Mm-hmm. And then in the second half, yeah, they burned out because they didn't have one of their two playmakers, especially a team like Houston that relies on those two playmakers so much. In the last game, James Harden dribbled 600 times. Sounds like a lot.
Is that an exaggeration?
No.
Wow.
Literally, according to Second Spectrum. He put the ball down 600 times, the rest of the team 429. Because they needed that second guy. They just desperately needed him. Yeah, I think they really believed, and they should have. And yeah, Andre Iguodala, maybe if he started this whole and played this whole series, it'd be a different story. But 3-2, yeah, Chris Paul in one of those games, I think that second playmaker gives them a win.
I don't know if I'm 100% convinced. You look at the game last night, definitely Chris Paul would have helped. The Rockets needed some sort of plan B when they were missing 27 straight threes. Somebody could have taken a mid-range jumper. Chris Paul is very good at that.
Yeah.
But I also think it's just impossible to say because if Chris Paul starts the game, do the Warriors give a better effort in the first half? Most likely. When you're playing against a team that has two All-Stars on the court, you're going to play a little bit harder, especially the Warriors, than when there's just one guy out there. Certainly James Harden wore down overtime, but would Chris Paul have been able to stop some of the shots that Curry was hitting, that Durant was hitting? Who knows? It would have been great to see Chris Paul out there and have him had a chance, but I don't think it's a guarantee that the Rockets win.
Yeah, I do sort of agree with that. I hate to do that. Well, if this guy's plays, then it's totally different. But you look back at games 4 and 5, and D'Antoni talked about this after the game. You know, we missed the leadership of Chris Paul, those timely buckets to stop those runs. In games of 4 and 5, there were many times where the Warriors went on their classic run in the second half, those Curry flurries, the avalanche, and Chris Paul had answers because that's who he is. He's the floor general out there, and he hit some crazy shots, and be it a three or a mid-range jumper or getting to the line, he sort of could always sort of calm the team down. So it is, I mean, you had that look, you look back at game 4 and 5, why couldn't he have done that in game 6 or 7? We don't know. You're right. We absolutely don't know. But he also probably would have helped defensively as well to maybe try and slow a Curry down. So, yeah, it's heartbreaking that Chris Paul got that close to the finals and then couldn't go in Game 6 and 7 because he picked up the very
Totally.
weird fluke injury at the end of Game 5.
And there's no asterisk on the Warriors' win. There never is, because there's always injuries. There's always a story that happens.
Right.
That being said, I don't think the Rockets could have gone another direction. Who's going to come off the bench to really help? Eric Gordon did all he could.
Right.
He did. But the Warriors just have more playmakers. And that's all the Rockets needed to me. And yeah, there's no guarantee, but an 11-point game, when they missed 27 threes in a row, I think he would have been the difference.
Yeah, it's still weird to say that out loud, that the team that was one of the best three-point shootings we've ever seen, and so obviously in terms of volume, but all the guys that can stretch the floor, they went 27 straight threes without missing, like making one. Like one of those doesn't bounce in. It's just insane, and Chris Paul would have helped for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point about the leadership, too. You remember at the end of Game 5, I think it was, where Chris Paul was just talking to James Harden. He's like, come on, man, we need you to get into it, get to the rim. He was kind of picking him up, saying, you haven't been playing perfectly here, but we still got you. And maybe if Chris Paul is out there to kind of guide guys and say, we can still score if we get inside. We can still get buckets in the paint. That could have helped, too. But last night was very sad to see the Rockets missing so many threes. Meanwhile, the Warriors are hitting the craziest threes, right? It's like a slap in the face, really.
Yeah, well, you brought up James Harden, and then here is like, the Warriors they just went nuts. But we always knew this was coming.
Sure.
The Rockets themselves knew this was coming. And, it didn't help that they didn't have Chris Paul to try and just sort of stay in the game and sort of calm things down and get a timely bucket when we needed it. But, you brought up James Harden. Let's get to him, because I don't think I'm reaching here when I'm saying that his spectacular MVP season, it ended in a whimper, right? And when you look at Game 7 and maybe in the playoffs in general, James Harden, he scored 32 points. Okay, great, but it took 29 shots to get there. He struggled from beyond the arc, 2 of 13 from deep. He had 5 turnovers. And another shot right there at the NBA Finals was within his grasp, and he comes up short. So true or false, did Harden have another disappointing playoffs when you look at it?
The big picture, whole playoffs, no.
False.
But I'd say false, but yeah, he had a disappointing 2 games here. When they're up 3-2, he just needed 1 game to be exceptional. And he wasn't. Yeah, that 32-point line it's just not good enough when your other guy is down. You don't shoot all that well percentage-wise. You just need to take over. And he didn't, and he wasn't able to in either second half. That was the disappointing part to me with James Harden, is that he faded as the games went on.
Definitely.
He was great to start the game. His best games were in Game 1 of each of the 3 series he played in, and then he slowed down, which was strange, because he did pick it up to start each series. But as the numbers go here, the fourth quarter was his worst quarter by far. You see that 18.8 percentage from three-point land. That's what he does. He's the MVP. He needed to be the most valuable player I love that fade there with the color. That's fantastic. He needed to be the most valuable player in Game 6 or Game 7. And he wasn't. They were up in both those games. He just needed to be good in one of those halves.
What do you think?
I think for the whole of the playoffs, the answer is false. Harden was 5th in scoring in the playoffs, 9th in assists. He had 3 40-point games. That's only behind LeBron James. Sure, they were all in Game 1s, but guess what? Game 1s still count in the thing. He wore down. There's no doubt about it. No Chris Paul. He didn't shoot well, but he went to Game 7 with the Warriors. They led in the second half. He's had 3 times in the playoffs, 3 playoffs already with the Rockets where he shot under 30% from 3. For whatever reason, James Harden doesn't shoot the 3 ball as well in the playoffs. I don't necessarily know if that has to do with just being disappointing or just he's off. I don't know what the deal is with it, but he had a good playoffs. But it wasn't as good as his regular season.
That's right. That's why this is true. It was disappointing. Again, it is.
This is his best playoffs he's had with the Rockets.
No, it's not. He shot worse this year than he did in last year's playoffs. That's
he went
crazy.
farther. He went
further, but we just talked about how Chris Paul was instrumental in that and all of his other guys. For him, he had a disappointing playoffs. That's fine. He's going to win MVP, and rightfully
30
so.
points and 7 assists. What's disappointing about that? 3 40-point games.
41%, under 41% again. And he struggles from
It's
the
harder in the
three-point
playoffs,
again. In
for sure.
games where he had to step up. I'm sorry, I love him, but it's true that he disappointed, because otherwise he gets them one of these games, and he's going through to the finals, and having really a legit chance, I would think, at winning a title. And he came up short. That's just the way it is.
I think it just shows you how hard it is to win a title, because the numbers are good. His team was good, up 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals. And I don't know what it is. He apparently has one of the toughest work ethics, and it doesn't show up late in games or late in playoff games, I guess the example is, or the saying goes, because in the regular season, he was phenomenal. I don't know what it is.
I will say his defense was better. I definitely thought he was more
That's
engaged
totally
on that
true,
end of the floor, but, excuse the pun, offensively is his beard and butter. Okay, so he's got to bring it on that
Butterbeer.
end.
I love Harry Potter.
So that has to be where he comes through, and he didn't. He just came up a little bit short. And I
So
think
what? You want him to score 40 a game and beat the best team in the league?
he needs to do that
That's
in
what you
one of
want?
those games. In one of those games, 6 or 7, yeah. But I'm not even just looking at those 2 games. He had a bat. He shot poorly through the entire
shot
playoffs.
poorly and scored 30 a
Chris
game.
Paul won them games in the Jazz series, and he won them games in the Warriors series.
And then he didn't play the last 2 games.
Yeah, they lost. I don't know. Disappointing. Sorry, James. Let's hear from you guys. Agree, disagree, let us know on Twitter. # the starters. Lots more still to come. Back with the starters. Game 1 of the NBA Finals starts Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So let's start breaking this down a little bit. We obviously have a few days to play with. We got a little What You Got edition of the Finals. Trey's going to throw a few questions at us. We'll debate them. But you got to be careful. There's only one correct response. That's whatever TK says it is, Trey.
Yeah, that's right, Skeet. Sometimes the fourth of something is great, like Ringo Starr. Sometimes the fourth is bad, like Batman and Robin. And sometimes you go to Taco Bell for fourth meal, which starts good and ends bad. Trust me. Warriors Cavs 4 should fit somewhere on that spectrum. So tell me, is Warriors Cavs 4 good or bad for business? What you got?
I think it's good. I think dynasties are always good for the league because people want to see them either prevail or fail. They want to see your Patriots or your Yankees. If you know they're sort of front runners, they want to see them win or they want to see them fall, especially when they're villains. And that's sort of the MO of the Warriors right now with Kevin Durant being there. I think that's a huge part of it. And on the other side, I think people want to see LeBron James there. Number one, because it's good for all those debates. It's good for all those GOAT debates. Is he the one? And if there's any team in the Eastern Conference that's got a shot, it's probably the best player of this era. No one else would have any sort of semblance of a shot coming out of the Eastern
Okay,
Conference.
fair, but I won't ask you for your prediction yet because, again, we got a couple
Warriors
days.
in 5.
Well, then why wouldn't you want the Rockets? Why wouldn't you want some new blood to play the Cavs then? Wouldn't we have a more competitive series if it was the Rockets and the Cavs went at it?
Yeah, but people like the best teams to be the best. Haven't we seen incredible ratings throughout this postseason?
True.
I think part of it is, people just want to see the best. And again, dynasties are good, and the Warriors are on their way to a dynasty. They're not there quite yet. 2 out of 3, not as good as. It's not a dynasty if it's not 3 out of 4 to me.
Okay.
But yeah, people want that.
So you think people are going to be tuning in to some extent to see whether or not LeBron can do this? Because obviously Vegas has
Yeah.
the Warriors heavily favored in this. A lot of people are saying Dubs in 4, Dubs in 5. It's a no-brainer. Your championship was the Western Conference Finals, is what a lot of people have been saying. Maybe there's some truth to that. So, I mean, I guess maybe I'm a little tired of it because we're heading into it, and it feels a little similar to last year, where it's like, can they really beat the Warriors? Probably not. Despite how great LeBron has been, probably not. So maybe why not? Wouldn't it have been more exciting? We'd had new storylines. Hey, can LeBron beat the Rockets? I don't know. That's where I'm at with this.
Yeah, but they're so great. I think there's a point where people just want to see them fail, and at some point.
Okay.
And so next year, if they're there for a 5th time, 5th in a row, people are going to want
Wow,
to see them fail
looking
again.
ahead to next year.
Well,
Okay,
I'm not
well-
saying the Cavs, but definitely the Warriors have a better shot than the Cavs.
All right, we're torn on this one. He says good, I say bad. What's the answer, TK?
Well, let me change into my official NBA league hat and tell you it's good for the league.
Oh, is
actually. We got the best player in the league trying for the impossible. All LeBron has to do is get 1 win in the first 2 games, and everybody is excited. I support all the teams.
No, well, we only have 2 teams every year.
Anyways, guys, never get old seeing the 2 best players in the league going head-to-head, and that's what we got with the 2016 Finals MVP LeBron going against the 2017 Finals MVP Kevin Durant in a battle of skill, will, and keeping it chill. Guys, who's under more pressure, LeBron or Durant? What you got?
That's LeBron.
It's always LeBron, isn't it?
I guess so.
Even though he comes into it, as I just said, no one really expects his squad to win this. But it is always LeBron because he's playing for something bigger. He's chasing MJ. He's trying to get more titles and all that. So it always does come down to him. You know, if he struggles, if he falters, if KD outplays him, like he did at times in last year's finals, well, then the Cavs have 0 chance. Maybe they have 5% chance as it is. They would have 0 chance if LeBron struggles. So, yeah, I do think it is LeBron.
But I don't think LeBron cares if he ends up 3-6
No,
in the finals
no.
if they lose this one. I don't think it really matters. That being said, he has no one he can rely on to be a force night in and night out, and that's why he's under a lot of pressure. And he might have to guard Kevin Durant. He doesn't want to do that because he needs to take possessions off to be the man every single possession on the offensive end of the floor, where he's going to see Draymond Green or Kevin Durant, and then better bigs, I would say. Aaron Baines was solid, but Kevon Looney or whoever to sort of back up Draymond Green. That's scary. It's very, very scary. And Kevin Durant, I think he can rely on a heck of a lot more guys.
Yeah.
Simply put.
Yeah, all right, Trey, what's the answer to this one?
I can't believe it, guys. I think it's got to be Kevin Durant. LeBron is supposedly one of the greatest accomplishments of his career just getting to the finals. If the Warriors lose, they will be ridiculed. But anyways, 11 years ago,
Fair.
LeBron took the 2007 Cavs to the finals where they started him, Boobie Gibson, Sasha Pavlovich, Drew Gooden, and Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and were promptly swept by the Spurs. That team has come up a lot lately as people debate the quality of the Cavs surrounding LeBron this year. You guys remember 2K7 back when Avril Lavigne was crushing it on the charts. Which was the worst LeBron team? 07 or 2018? What you got?
Oh, yeah, we were just skater boys, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
see you later,
Loving it.
boys.
I saw Ashley Simpson's name today, too.
Wow. We have been talking about, we've actually been debating this sort of a lot up in the office, carpooling in, TK and I have, about which team is worse here with LeBron, that 07 team or this current 18 team. At first glance, I think I'm always like, well, the 07 team is way worse. This 2018 has Kevin Love. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
know if he's going to play in game one because of the concussion, but you've got an all-star. But the more I thought about it, the more I went back and looked and remembered that 2007 team, they had an identity. Their identity was a defensive squad. They were top 5 in the regular season. They got better in the playoffs. They were good. They also only lost, I forgot this, 2 of the losses in that 07 finals to the Spurs were by 1 point each, games 3 and 4. Larry Hughes also went out in that series. I think they were actually the better squad than this 2018 teams with the Cavs because what's their identity?
None.
That they don't have one, yeah, except it's LeBron and then they've had 4 different teams this year and they don't play defense. We all know that, or they've struggled. So I think it might be the worst team being this one, which is nuts.
I know, Trey mentioned all those names, and we just look at those names and say, oh, that one was way worse. But
Yeah.
I totally agree. It's
Okay.
this one right now because outside of Kevin Love, I mean, no one really is helping out, and Kevin Love hasn't been all that great either. Those guys, at least there's 3 guys in double-digit scoring outside of LeBron James. Kevin Love is the only one outside of
Yep.
LeBron James. And I think it's just easy to forget that team. They played well, through those games. I mean,
Yeah.
we just forget something that happened 11 years ago. We forget that Skater Boy was SK8ERBOI. It's just there was a Twitter thread which went through every single game in that postseason through 2007. Larry Hughes chipped in
Yeah.
and won games. Everybody won games. So Big Z won games for them. There was a lot of contributions. Boobie Gibson's in the conference finals. Yeah, they had an identity. I forgot
All right,
about that.
so we're going 2018. Yeah, I know he's already shaking his head.
2007. Kevin Love was an all-star this year. LeBron James is better this year. Kyle Korver is one of the greatest shooters of all time.
Wow,
They're not
really
good now.
Disagree with TK there. All right, coming up, we're going to revisit some of the funniest moments from the past 3 NBA Finals. Back in a second.
The Starters is brought to you by Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey, official partner of the NBA.
3 straight Warriors-Cavs finals has produced a lot of great plays, but it's also given us a lot of hilarious moments. And it's list season here, so let's get down our top 10 funniest moments from the past 3 NBA finals. And at number 10, remember Timofey Mozgov back in 2015? This ball remembers him right in the kisser. Handled it in stride.
At number 9, look at that bottom note on JaVale McGee's bio.
I like it.
He owns a Sphinx cat. Yeah, during the NBA Finals,
Cool.
these photos showed up.
That's a cat, eh?
Yeah, cute cat.
No, it's not.
Yeah, kinda.
At number 8, a great moment from Game 3 of the 15 Finals. Everybody upset with the call. Draymond Green, mad. Steve Kerr can't believe it. And this fan, what?
If you wear a Draymond jersey, you have to complain about foul calls. Gotta do it.
At number 7, an AC malfunction startled Kevin Durant and reporter Roz Gold on Mude.
We playing smaller and we playing Draymond at the 5.
I don't know what those sounds are.
It's scaring me a little bit up here, but
It might be the plumbing.
yeah. Yeah, that thing's shaking a little bit, buddy.
Yeah, hey buddy, we gotta take a look at that. At number 6, Andre Iguodala hits the big shot and has one of the funnier celebrations with the old man trying to get to the bathroom quick as possible. Yep. It's a very strange strut.
At number 5, it's Karate Kirk as he takes it out on the whiteboard here.
Oh, man.
Look Look at that. Look at that strength.
Power.
Sensei showing it how it's done there.
At number 4, Kevin Durant gets his first title. He's trying to celebrate. He's trying to do the Stone Cold with the beers. He can't figure it out. Finally gets one open.
Pops it open.
Not a fan of beer. Ugh. No thanks. But beer wasn't his only beverage of choice, as he told the guys a little bit later on NBA TV.
Just talk about your development, your evolvement, and getting a chance to play in this environment and showcase all your talents this year with the Warriors.
I'm sorry, I had too much champagne.
That's okay.
He was celebrating.
At number 3, this guy was celebrating because you remember shirtless J.R. Smith after the championship in 2016. There were shirtless J.R. shirts. Look at him. King of the world on that car.
He's got the shorts on too. It's great.
Even Obama made a joke about this.
He just put a shirt on. At number 2, Game 1, 2017 Finals. It was known as the Rihanna game. She showed up courtside, was cheering on the Cavs. She was dabbing on them in the crowd. And yeah, she had been John with KD. He hit the 3, and he turned around to let her know, yeah, I hear you, but we got this. She stole the show, as she usually does.
That's right.
Jeff Van Gundy couldn't get enough.
And at number 1, J.R. Smith, he introduced us to hoverboards. He arrived on a Funky Duck, Game 4, 2015 Finals. He's just cruising in. Look at him flying. We were all bewildered. What's he doing?
This was wild at the time. What?
Watch, Sean Livingston's on the left.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, buddy. Just flies by him. But then after Game 6, after they lost the series, it was a bit of a somber exit on the hoverboard.
Keeps it in first gear going through the crowd, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a master even back then.
JR steals the show always. Back in a second. Warriors Cavs Part 4. We asked you, what's something you hope happens again at the finals? You hit us up on Twitter, #TheStarters. Trey got a few of the best answers.
Yeah, some good answers. Abdul Rahman says, Draymond getting suspended so the series can be somewhat competitive. Let's just let him play a game first. Bronco says, the return of the song, Stephen Curry and the Warriors. We're going to find him this year. Dylan says he wants to see JR riding on some sort of motorized vehicle. I guess hoverboards are sort of out. Hines says, I want to see a wedgie. I think it'll be the best momentum breaker in the finals. LeBron had one in the finals last year. Pretty cool. And Eric says he wants to see Lee Ellis eat some French fries. We got to come up with some kinds of challenges.
Yeah, that's true. All right, speaking of Lee, it's not a very solid play. It's very unsolid, Trey.
And this was actually a challenge, Skeets. I watched every single assist from last night. None were solid, but this unsolid play where the ball gets batted around 5 times, PJ Tucker ends up with a dunk. That's what I call a very unsolid play.
That's very unsolid. Twitter shows up. Go enjoy it. That's it for us tonight. See you tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right, thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.
Brace the night, people.